Hello everyone. In this video we'll be looking at what is HTML. We'll try to get started with this terminology called HTML, and we'll be proceeding with what it is, what are the fundamental things, a complete anatomy of HTML. We'll have a look at HTML elements, attributes, structure, and how does a web page get displayed. And surely we'll get it supported by an example explained, and then getting started to make your own. So let's go ahead and have a look into every single topics one by one. So first topic, what is HTML? The term HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, a very familiar term which almost anyone having a brief knowledge about the computer or the computer language or have used internet and unfortunately got the internet disconnected, you might have surely got into this term HTML. It is a standard markup language for web pages, and the elements for HTMLs are building blocks. So elements are the building blocks of HTML pages. And how are they represented? They are represented by tags. This HTML allows the user to create and structure sectors, paragraphs, headings, links, and block codes for any web pages and applications. So what are these? What are these structure sections? What are paragraphs, headings, links, and block codes? And what is this called tags? And the building blocks, that is an element. We'll have this all in a moment in the further slides. So we'll start off with what is HTML elements. HTML elements is a start tag and an end tag with the content in between. So anything you call as a prefix and suffix, whereas the prefix gives you an idea that this is the start of the string or this is the start of the thing, and the end tag gives you an indication that yes, here it is terminated. Similarly, we have HTML elements, which is a start tag and the end tag, and the content or the information, what has to be displayed, what has to be thrown into it, remains in the between of these two tags. For an example, let's have an header here. So h1 and this heading and h1. So the h1 at the very first, what you see is a start tag, followed by at the end with the end tag, and the information what you have in between. This is the heading, is the content what you're providing. Let's have a look into other one. So it's similarly same, and P stands for a paragraph. So you have the start tag with a P and the end tag with a /P, and the content, this is the heading, is in the center of the two tags. So I hope it's very much clear that we need a start tag and an end tag to put any elements or to any content in between those, and that indicates whether it is an start element or whether it is an start of the element or the end of the element. So now let's go ahead and look what is attributes. HTML attributes are given to the elements. So HTML elements can have attributes. So what are these? Attributes, as the word defines, is nothing but an additional information about the element. For an example, it can be a name and value pair, like character set is equal to UTF-8 or width equals to 8 pixels, anything such, a combination of a name and value pairs, which gives the user an additional information, what it is and what it has, what it holds. So this is an HTML attributes for the elements what we provide between the tags, that is the start tag and the end tags. Now let's go ahead and look into HTML structure. What you see on the screen is how the provision HTML structure looks like, where you start with a doc type, that is document type, what it is, and then you have a headers and a body, and then you end it up. You follow every single content with a start tag and the end tag. So this is how the HTML structures look like. We'll have a look into that with a hands-on in a moment from here. We'll see every single thing what is being given here in a brief in the next slide. So consider this a program what you wrote. These are type of lines, number of lines you have written, and then what it displays. Any guess we have? Yes, this is how it looks like when you execute it or open it through the Chrome when you have saved it with the .html extension. And here it how it looks like. This is a heading which was given as a heading there, and a paragraph enclosed with a paragraph start tag and end tags. We have many different types of headers, h1, h2, h3, h4, based on the sizes and differences. So it completely depends on us what we use and what's our requirements. So let's go ahead now and see what it is. So this is the title what we had given in the previous structure. So this is an example. Is a given head title for this web page, and this is a heading which was enclosed with the header tag, that is start and the end tag, and this is your paragraph which started with start tag of the paragraph and the end tag of the paragraph, and this is the complete body whatever you put inside here, and here where your contents falls in. And to every single thing you define, every single thing you want, you start them with every element you want to put in here. You need a start tag and the end tag as we have discussed earlier. So this is what we call as tags, and we are sure that what is elements, and this is how the HTML structure in a basic looks like. So let's have an example now so that we understand all the previous concepts better. The doc type HTML declares what type of document type file it is. If it is this way what you see on the screen, it is a document type of HTML5, and we had the same thing in the previous HTML structure what you have seen. And the HTML elements is the root element of HTML page, and then we had head. It is the element that which defines the HTML pages, followed by we had something called title, element that specifies the title for the document. It can be anything what you give. So the previous example we had example as a title for the web page, followed by a body, elements that contain a visible page content. It can be anything, images, text, anything of your wish, but make sure that you follow up with the start tags and end tags for every single thing what you do. Then we have headers. H1 element defines a large heading, H2, H3, H4, and these decreases respectively on their sizes as a heading. Then we have at the last P, which defines a paragraph. So whenever we have to define a paragraph, we use this tag to declare a paragraph. So by now we are clear that what are HTML elements and how does attributes give extra information and define the same thing better. How does the HTML structure looks like, and what are the components of a web page, what is header, what is the title, what is the body, and what are paragraphs. And then we also saw what is this terms doc type HTML had their title, body, H1 and P, and what they define and how can they be used. So let's go ahead and check out how can we get started. So very first thing to get started, we need a text editor. So we'll be using the Sublime text editor for this demo. This is the window from the Sublime text editor. Click on the ribbon top, click on the files, and then click on the save file. Once you click on a save as file, then save it as with the dot extension of HTML. For an example, your file name is file, then make sure that you write file.html. Without the .html, it cannot be converted to HTML page. You can even do the same thing, even using the normal notepad in the PC what you have by default. But make sure when you do save it, go to the files and then click on a save as and give a file name what of your wish and proceed it further with .html, and that will convert the same to .html, and then click on a save and your file is now an HTML file. So let's have a look into this. How does it work? Hello and welcome back to another video on HTML and web development. So in this video we'll be looking at HTML formatting elements, that is B strong, I, M, small, mark, delete, sub and subscript text. So let's quickly go back into the browser, that is editor, and then check out what can we do with this. So first thing, HTML, and then giving the title as video 2. And in the body, I'll just write a paragraph P, and here write, this is beautiful. Now, Control plus saving it, going back to the browser and then checking out what's happening with this. Control plus R. So I have this is beautiful here, and I have nothing much. Now, what if I want to do make something? So first we'll be looking at, we had B. So let us do the B for making it bold. Here I'll just call it the B tag, B, and then I have a bold. So here I will write hummingbird. Saving it, Control plus R. Now you can see this part is bold. I can also write, instead of B, I can also write strong, and that also will give me Control plus Z and Z, and strong, press tab, and you get this. Control plus save it. Going back here, Control plus R, you have the same thing here. Now we have next as I, so that will give us an italic. So let me just write italic here, pass the italic here, Z, Z, I also, and then write the same thing here. So this will be both bold and italic. So you can see it's pretty much good that this beautiful hummingbird, and you have hummingbird in a bold and italic. So now we'll be checking out small and mark. So let us see what happens with the small. So I'll again go back and delete this and write small, and then write hummingbird again. Saving it and Control plus R. So it became smaller than the previous handwriting, that is previous font size what we had. And now we'll also see mark and what happens to this. Control plus Z, mark here, and then writing here hummingbird, Control plus saving it, and you can see it became into a mark, that is marker. So a mark is nothing but it defines the element mark or into a highlighted text, or and the small was nothing to make it the element smaller, and whereas EM is for emphasizing the text. So let us also emphasize the text. Control plus Z here, EM, to emphasize the text. Saving it, going back to the browser and then checking out. So it's already emphasized. So this way you can use this tags and then make it to work on you onto your base. That is, either you want to make it bold letter or anything such, or change the color of the anything. You can directly pass those inside this or into external, and you'll have the changes seen on your web page. Make sure that you do Control plus S, that is Control plus save it, and then refresh the page here on the screen. Without that, you may not have the changes happening out there, and you may feel difficult. Now let's go and check out HTML comment tags. So what are comment tags? Comment tags are nothing but it is for the user information. That is, if I want to know something, what this line does, if I'm a new incomer, like I'm completely new, I don't know anything. So it's just for user information. And to write HTML comments, you need to open the tag and write it like this, write comments. So anything between this tag will be comments and that will not be executed. So HTML links now. So what are links? The links are, or hyperlink is nothing but text or image which when we click on that, it will redirect you to some link. So how can you do that thing? Just you need to have an anchor tag. So how can you have an anchor tag? Let me go here inside the body and write A, and then right here I get the head reference. I'll just provide the link to Google and then see what happens. Google.co.in, and here I'll mention that this is Google. Control plus save it, going back here, Control plus R, I have Google, and if you click on this Google, it will take you to Google link. So it says file not found. Okay. Yes. So this way you can go to the link whichever you want, and we couldn't go to the link because there wasn't HTTPS added before. So let me add HTTPS colon // control plus save it, going back here and checking out whether it works now. So I just click on it, it takes me to google.co.in. Yes, that perfectly works. So this way you can add up any link you want, and then you can have, instead of I just mentioned here as a Google, that is in text, you can also pass the image here, and when you click on that image, that will redirect you to the website you want. So you can also do that thing. So it's all up to you how you do it. Now we'll see the other topic what we have in this video. We have now HTML images. So images are nothing but any picture, or that is rows into columns, pixels of rows into columns in a technical form. So how can you get the images? So you need to have this image tag, that is img tag. And if the image tag is empty, it contains attributes only and does not have closing tag. The source attribute specifies the URL web address of the image and image source URL, and this is a place where you need to mention the file path or the URL from where the image will be fetched. So let's go here and then check out how can we do this. So image, I give it here, and then ask me for a source, and I have one file here in my browser which has as dot, and the file name is file extension is, that is file format is JFIF. Make sure that you provide exact file name and the exact format. So Control plus saving it, going back here and checking out what's happening out here. Control plus R, and then you can see I have a big image here. It's pretty much big. So Google comes here. So let me give a break between these two so that this comes below this break line. One more break line. Control plus save, going back here. Control plus R. Now Google comes here and the image comes here. So this way you can add up any image to a HTML page. Make sure that whenever you are passing the link, that is the source name, the file name should be exactly correct, and the format also should be exactly correct, whether it is JPEG or PNG or anything such, that should be exactly correct with the file name. And if the file is located anywhere except the path where your HTML also is present, as my HTML file is present here on the Mahi desktop, and the image file is also present in the desktop, so I don't have any issues. And if we have anything such, then make sure that you either copy to the same path or mention the path name here. And without that, you cannot do that thing. You can also set the width and height of the image. For an example, I have my image completely covered. Let me go back here into my text editor and write width, and I'll just make it to 230 pixels, and also height as 300 pixels. So let me see what happens with this. Control plus C, and going back to the browser, Control plus R, and you can see here I have resized my image to whatever the size I wanted, that is 230 pixels and 300 pixels, and it looks perfectly good. So you can have it any place and any size you want, and that should help you out. So that's all for today's video. In this video, thanks for watching. Hello and welcome back to another video, and in this video we'll be looking at HTML forms. So before we start with HTML forms, let's understand what are forms. Here forms are nothing but
a kind of page where we ask user to give us input or provide us the information, as we call it as an application form in a offline version. So the same way it's a form where we'll be asking the user to give us the details about their names, mail IDs or gender and so on. Select the male or female, select the course, whatever they have. So all these things we'll be looking at this HTML forms. So in this video, we'll be looking at in an introduction to forms, metadata, and at the last, we'll see the forms. And we'll also follow it up with how to do it, and we'll check out and make a sample form. So let's get started with this. So first, we'll be using HTML5 as normal. So it is the fifth and the revised version of HTML5, which supports many new features and also supports for creating web applications and so on. So we'll see into this into much detail with a comparison of HTML4 and HTML5 into the other next video. For this video, we'll be looking at meta tag. So what is meta tag now? It is nothing but it is used for declaring the metadata for HTML document. It can also metadata can include document descriptions, keywords, author, and etc. And remember, meta tag is always placed between the opening and closing tags of the header tags. So with this, let's start creating an application form. So just give me a moment of time and then let me switch my screen to the editor and then we'll see out how can we go ahead with this. So here we are. So here we are into our editor. So I hope you all remember that we need to go to the files and then I'll just make a new file and save it with a name with .html. Once you're done with that, just write HTML here and press tab. So we are done here. I'll write sample form as a title for the page. So once done with the sample forms as a title for the page, I'm here in my body section. And here it's pretty much simple. As it is a form, I'll just give it the header. So with an h1 header and then write sample application form. So this is my header. I'll just save it, Ctrl+S, and then quickly go back to the browser. That is my desktop and check out where is that file located. So file is inside this thing, and here we have the sample one. So I'll just quickly, okay, this is not the one. Let me check out where it is saved. So it is saved as css.html in the desktop itself. So here we have css.html here. I'll just open this and open this into a new tab so that we don't have any distraction with other tabs. Ctrl+R. So it says sample application form, and if I go here and then it says me sample forms as a title here on the top. So let's start adding the details into this. So what we'll be doing is very simple. First, to create a form, you need to open the form tag. So you can call it as you can call that through form and then press tag, and this gets you into a form tag. So you get an open that is start tag and the close tag of the form. Now, first thing, we'll ask the user to give it the name. So we need something called name, and then it should have an input. So for that, I need a name as a label. So I'll call label and then press tab and write name and press N button, and let me see what happens now. Ctrl+S and Ctrl+R. So you can see it says name here. So we are good to go. Press enter, and then now let's take an input from the user. So for that, you need to call the input attribute, that is input tag, and then here write what type of input it is. So it is going to be text input. So text, Ctrl+ save, going back to the browser and then checking out what's happening. So you can see here we have name and a text field. So I can write something in this text field. Yes, I can write it. So we have name and the text field. Let me zoom in the page and so that it's pretty much clear for everyone. So I have a name and the user. And now let me go ahead and then add up the password. So label again and password. Control plus S, save, again the input, and here I write again the text because sorry, it's going to be a password. If I'm going to write a control plus save and then going back here, checking out what's happening with this, control plus R. Okay, so I have name here and the password here. So now I've given the data, I have given an input type that is as a text here and the password here. So what is the changes between these two is nothing but you can see here in the text you have type as a text, and whenever you write something here it's visible, whereas in the case of password it's not visible. So this is the reason that I used type as a password for the password field. But we have a problem here. Name is in the same line and password is also in the same line. So what should I do to get it down? So what I'll do is just add a break line in between these two. So I'll add a br, break the line. I'll also give one more break line and then it should be pretty much good to see now. So current press R, good. I have a name field and a password field now. So we are done with two things. That is, we have a name. I'm going to collect name from them and password. Now, one question is how can we add a hint here, that is in this place, like it should show like enter your username or enter your name, something like that. So let me do that thing. So to do that thing we need to do is call up this thing placeholder, and inside this write a hint. Hint is another name for the placeholder. Placeholder is also another name for the hint. So here write the hint you want to give. Enter your name, enter your name. And let us also add the same thing to this password field, placeholder, and enter your password. Enter your password. Control press save. Do not forget to save. Like only if you save here and then go back to the browser and then refresh the page, you'll get this. So you can see now you have the hint here. Like I can also write something. The moment I start writing, that hints disappear. So I have name as a name and the input field, where I also have a placeholder that is a hint as enter your name followed by password and enter your password. Now let's go ahead and then check out the other field. So what is the other field now? So obvious field is the gender. So whether male or female. So let us do that thing. So to do that thing, let us also again give a break here so that we have it after the line. And now I'll call up a label and mention here gender. So now control plus save it. Going back, refreshing the page, I have a gender here. I think so I should give one more bracket here. So let me give sorry, not bracket, break line, and it should be pretty much clear now. Going back here and then control plus R, it has a good space now. Now I have label as a gender, and I cannot here ask them to write male because I already know that it will be a male or a female. So I will not be asking them as input, like I'll not be calling the input and type text so enter male or female. What I can do is I can just have two options to select from. So for that, what I'll be doing is just call one more method here. That is nothing but input, and instead of type input, instead of type text, I'll call up radio. And what this radio does, we'll check out here. So I'll just go back here and then control plus R. You can see radio is nothing but this radio type of button. So we call it as radio here in a type of input. So I can click on this and it's pretty much good. I'll also add one more. I need two things, two radios. So two input, and this also is a radio. So we are good to go. We have two radios now. Control plus R, I have two, but I should also give them a label, right? I should give them a male or a female. Only then they will be distinguished between two things. So to do that, just write here male, and here follow it up with female. Control press save, and go back here and control press R, and you have male and female. So now they can choose from male or female, and this gets us into other option, that is male or female. Now let's quickly go ahead and check out how can we have other part, that is nothing but how can we have a checkbox. So consider you need to have a checkbox, choose from two cities, whether Bangalore or Hyderabad. So will you do that thing? So let me give a break quickly here, tab, and one more break line. Now this break line and tab. Now to give the label, I'll just label here select city, They can also select multiple cities, and that's why I'm using checkbox. So input, and instead of type here, I'll write checkbox. Control plus save it. Going back here and checking out what's happening out there. Control plus R. Now they have a checkbox, so I can click on this, and it is going to be checked. Now the same way as we did earlier, I'll write Bangalore as first, and then going back here again, an input checkbox. Going back here, Hyderabad. I hope my spellings are right. Control plus R. So I have two things now. That is select city Bangalore. Another one is Hyderabad. So we are good to go now. Now our next thing is nothing but if we want to select something from the drop down menu or drop down list, anything such, or selector, what we call here. So to do that thing, let me give a break here so that we are good to go. Break and then call up selector. Select, and then let's write the options. Option. So first option, let it be BE. I'll just give a label here so that it makes sense. Label. Choose your qualification. And then here BE, I'll just add up one more option. BCA. Okay, let's have these two options, or I can I'll give one more option as choose your course. So Control plus save it. Then let's go back and check out what's happening out there. Control plus R. So now I have a label choose your qualification, and if I click on this, I have a drop down menu, and I can select whatever the course I have. So with this, we have completed our sample application, and the last part is remaining is nothing but submit button. So and without that, we'll not be able to submit it. So how shall we do that thing? So we'll just quickly go here out of the select tag, because we're not inside the select tag now, but inside the form tag. Go here and write button and press tab, write submit. And this should give me a Control plus save. Going back here, Control plus R, and it gives me submit button right next to the choose your course. So let me add a break line, and that should make it appealing to look. Break, and Control plus save it. Control plus R, submit. So let's try out we have a submit button now. Let's try out our application form now. I'll just write hummingbird here in the name. And in the password field, I'll just write password. And I'll just submit it now. Let me see what happens. So I'm able to submit it. And this is how I click on submit and I get my application. So we have not done anything much on the backend, but we have created our sample application form now. So with this, you can also add up your CSS inline styling and all these things. You can add up your brackets or borders. You can align them in between or left or right to make your application more appealing. So that's all for this video, and we hope to see you in the next video. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to another video. And in this video, we'll be learning about HTML5 and the difference between HTML5 and HTML4. So we'll have a look into a very brief differences between both of them, and then try to implement what was not there in HTML4, that is audio and a video capability into our web pages. So with this, let's go ahead. So first, introduction to HTML5. So HTML5 is the fifth version of the newest version of HTML standard. It offers a wide variety of features. For example, rich media support, and also helps us to have real-time web applications, interact with users and their local data, and of course the servers very much more easier. So here we are with HTML5 and HTML4 differences. So onto my left hand I have an HTML4, and onto my right I have HTML5. So first, HTML4 didn't have a standardized process to handle the structural incorrect HTML codes, whereas in HTML5 it was very much improved and it had a better error handling capacity. HTML4 didn't have mobile, it wasn't mobile friendly, because as in the earlier days we didn't have smartphones, and that wasn't of much concern that all the web pages should be loaded properly and the web pages will be tried to be accessed via the mobile phones. So it wasn't much of a concern. Whereas as the ages time passed, it became pretty much important that the web pages have to be accessible and responsive into the mobile phone screens and many other devices. Hence, it became mobile friendly in HTML5. In the olden days, we didn't have much of media. That is, we didn't have an audio video content much, and that wasn't supported in HTML4. And now it literally feels dumb if we don't have any of the media. And hence, we have a better supporting and much more integration with audio and video elements on a web page directly. HTML4 didn't support many of the web browser, whereas HTML5 almost supports all the web browsers and it works very much perfectly with all its processing. In HTML5, we didn't have scalable vector graphics, whereas in this HTML5, we had scalable vector graphics that are directly integral part of an HTML5 language specification. And most importantly, in HTML4, it didn't allow JavaScript to run in a browser, and which prevented it to have interaction from the external resources. Whereas in HTML5, we had all this capability to run the JavaScript in the background and many much more. So in this video, we'll be looking at one major difference and try to show you how can you implement that, and that will be an additional info to make your web pages more interactive and more appealing to be good. So let's go ahead and check out how can we implement this, that is an audio video elements into an web page directly without doing anything much. So how shall we go? So with this, let's quickly go back and then check out our web editor. So here we are into our editor. So let's quickly start with doing the thing. Write HTML and press tab. Now let us give the title for this media page. And here in the body, let me just give one simple thing so that it's clear for us to understand. H1, press tab, media page. And going ahead, I'll just give a label here, label and audio player. I'll also give a break line between this so that it looks good between these two things. So once I'm done with the label audio player, now it's a moment of time to check out how can we import the audio into this. So to do that, for audio, you need to write audio, press tab, and you get this, press enter. Now write source and press tab. Now here you need to mention the source name. So make sure that if your file is stored anywhere inside or anywhere in the directory, any other places, please mention the path completely here with a file name with dot extension, or you can write dot extension here in the type. So my file is already here in my desktop and the file name is 001 here I have. So I'll just write 001 here, 001.mp3 as it is an mp3 file, and just write control plus save it. I'll just go and check out what's happening in my browser. So control plus R. I have here media page and audio player, but I don't have anything. So we have here nothing. We don't have any control things so that we can play our audio or anything such. And there is no hint that where is my audio file. So what's happening around here? So let's quickly go back to our web editor, that is Sublime Text here, and then what we need to do is add a controller here. So just write controls, and then press save. Go back here and then control plus R, and now you can see you have your controller here. So let me just click on this play button and then see if it is playing or not. So if I click on the play button here, so it's perfectly playing well. So let me give a break line between this label and this so that we have a perfect visualization with this. Control plus save, and going back here again, control plus R, and then I have an audio player just below the audio player tag. So this is how you can add any multiple players and have your files playing in the media page, that is web page. So now the other difference what we had was having the video player, and yes, that's pretty much important to have it. So how should we do that thing? Just write video, press tab, press enter again the same way, source here, and then provide a source file name. So again, I'm going back to my desktop and I have a web development part 1 here. Now you need to make sure that you have exactly the same name of the file. So for that you can just press F2 and that will take you to the rename, and then press Ctrl plus C to copy the file name. And it is an MP4 file, yes, so MP4 file. Going back here, just Ctrl plus V, pasting the exact file name and writing MP4. Ctrl plus S. Let's quickly check out what's happening around here. Ctrl plus R, and I have such a big video player here, but there is no controls to play the video. So what should I do now? So again the same thing. Let me give a break here after the audio to make it look more appealing. Break here and one more break line, and then also add up a label and write video player. And then break a line, then break a line. And now, as earlier we saw in the audio control, we need to have a controls here, controls attribute, and then save it. Going back here, Control press R, and now I have a video player as a label, and I also have the controls here. So if I just click on this controls, it plays well. We will have a first of it. So it plays. Now the question is, it's too big. It's too big for the size what we have on the screen. So what should we do with this? So for that, let's go back here, and after the controls, write height, and then let's give it to 240 and width to 360, and check out what's happening around with this. Make sure that you add a pixel with that it's going to work out, and which I had missed right now. So pixels, Control plus save it. Going back here, Control plus R, and now it's perfect ratio. Press it, and it should play my video. So this way, how we can add up the audio player or a video player in the web page, and this is the advantage which comes integral in HTML5. So that's all for this video, and we'll see you again in the next video. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to this video again. In this video we'll be seeing about CSS, the very most important thing about the HTML web pages and in the web development series. Until now we have a black and white world where we had just text, paragraphs, headings and so on, and we had nothing for this styling and beautifying the world. So let's make our web pages colorful with this CSS now. So in this we'll be looking at introduction to CSS. We'll see the syntax of the CSS. We'll also see what are the different types of CSS. These are nothing but inline, internal and external CSS. And at the last, we'll also see the box model. So what is box model? So let's get started with this. CSS stands for cascading style sheets. What it does? It describes how HTML should look like and appear on the screen or in the paper or in another media. Remember, CSS is nothing but it beautifies, it prettifies the same content and element what you have in the HTML sheets. It is also used to style and label all web pages. For example, if you want to alter the font, color size, spacing of your content, you want to add an image, add a border to it, you have a different kind of borders, you want to make it segmented and make it a decorative, and not the least, you can also add animations. So this was a quick about what does CSS means and what it does. Let's go ahead and check out the syntax of the CSS. As CSS is a rule-based language, here we have declarations and selectors. For an example, what we'll see on the screen here, onto my right side, on the black image, we have P as a selector, and then followed it with declaration. Whereas in declaration, you have two sections. One is a property and other is a value. So property is nothing but a font size there, and a value is 1.2. Remember, property can be anything: a border type, a font size, font style, whether it is bold or italic, or that is nothing but a font weight. And to the value side, you can have the value for the same. For example, if you have a font weight, then this side will have a bold or normal. And if you have this side as a font family, then you can have sans serif or Times New Roman. So this is how the declaration part works out. And then you have a selector. Selector is nothing but this is what you need to call whenever you want the same or this particular declaration in any of the form. Here on the example you can see here h1 is a header pass, so that is nothing but also a selector, and then the given values are red and 1.2, and the properties are color and font size. So let's see this into practical in a moment. Before that, let's go ahead and check out the different types of CSS, and then we'll follow it up with one by one, understanding every single thing in a quick manner. So we have inline CSS as the first category in the CSS to HTML. See, inline CSS is nothing but you define every single styling on the same line itself, in whichever line you want to have that styling. For an example, if you have a paragraph and you want to style that, so you just write, open the tag, paragraph tag, and then call up style attribute, and then give it a combination of properties and values. And coming to the internal CSS, this is nothing but you declare this inside the header tag. Here you call it the style attribute, and then open a bracket, pass all the parameters, all the CSS styling what you need, and then close it. And this can be called anywhere in the HTML page by calling the selector, or by calling the ID, or by calling the class. So we'll see to that in a moment. XML CSS is nothing but any CSS value, any CSS sheet which can be in a separate file. For an example, if you're developing a page and you want your page to load very fast, so if you add up the CSS also into the same page, the size will increase, the size of the page will increase. For example, if you consider your HTML page is of 1 MB size and the CSS is another 1 MB, so together will be 2 MB of size, and this will surely take much more time to load than 1 MB HTML file. And this also, external CSS also gives you an advantage that you can use the same external CSS into any web page, into any other HTML, and call it up any way you want. So this gives you portability. So let's go ahead and check out all these three. So we are here at our text editor, that is Sublime Text. So what I'll be doing is just write HTML, open the tag, and just write this. This is a CSS. So first thing we'll be doing is see how does the inline CSS work out. So we are here title. We are inside the header tag. I'll just leave that empty there. I'll come here into a body tag and then write paragraph, open the paragraph, and write this is hummingbird. Now this doesn't look very much interesting because there is no styling. So let's us have a simple styling, that is inline CSS. So to write inline CSS, as mentioned earlier, you need to come into the same tag wherever you want to call that, and just call up the attribute style and press tab, and this gives you this thing. So just here I'll write as a color So here we are. So I had just passed the property value, that is color, and now let me give a color value as red, and then end it with this. Let me also give one more thing. So let's have here as a font size or font weight, and then pass bold to this. So I have given the inline CSS with this. Let me just save it, Ctrl+S, and then quickly go to my path where it is. So it is saved in C users my desktop and css.html. So let me just switch my screen and check out what's happening with the same. So here we go.
So I have that here inside the sample folder, and here is my, okay, not here. So here we have CSS HTML file, and I'm opening it. So you can see here, it clearly can see, I'll just refresh the page, and then you can find out this is an hummingbird. Let me just open this into a new tab, move to any window. Okay, Control plus R. So now let's go back and check out what can we do extra with this. Let me here quickly add border to this border, and then give the pixel as a 2 pixels, and then also give groove as in this thing, and then mention the color as a black. Okay, black doesn't look very cool with this. I'll just make it to red, and Control plus save, and then go back here, and then Control plus R. So I have this. So this is an example for CSS, inline CSS. Now let's quickly have a look into internal CSS. So how does it look like? So internal CSS is nothing but you call up that in a different place. So let's go here into the header tag, and then give here, pass the style attribute, and then I get this. And inside this tag, I give a selector P, and then open this tag, and then call up. So I just give it here color red, and then font size to 34 pixels, and then we are done. So how can we get this thing here? So you can see I have called the internal CSS here, and I have made my internal CSS with a selector P. So now I also have given the inline CSS to this. I'll just remove this inline CSS for this, and then keep it empty here. So here we go. So this selector P, and this is also P. So this will fetch all the CSS styling from here. So let me just Control plus save it. No, I don't. Okay, Control plus save it, and then quickly go back here, and then Control plus R. So you can see here the font size is 34, and our image color is red color. So this was simple about internal CSS, where you declare it inside the header tag. I will see the external CSS, how to do that thing, into the next video. Until then, take care. Hello and welcome back to this another video on CSS. So continuing to the previous video, in this video we'll be looking at external CSS. So we'll try to learn what is external CSS and how is it better than the other two, that is internal CSS and inline CSS. We'll also look at how to create the external CSS and how can we link the external CSS to our HTML file. And then we'll follow it up with box model. So what is box model? We'll come back to this later. So let's go back to our editor. So we are here in our editor. Now let's quickly create an external CSS file. Remember, as the name suggests, external CSS is nothing but you create a CSS into the external file. If you're using the Sublime text editor or any other text editor, just press Ctrl plus N, and that should get you a new file. Now press Ctrl Shift plus S, that is nothing but save as. You can also go do the same thing by clicking on a file and then click on save as. Now give a file name to the CSS file what you want to create. So I'm writing as CSS1, and make sure that you add an extension .css with the same. I repeat once again, after giving a file name of your desired thing, please add it up with extension .css. Once you're done with that, click on save. And now you can see here, I have this file name as css1.css. Once you're done creating the css.css, that is creating the CSS external file, you are ready to go. So let's have a selector first. I write P here, and then open the bracket, and then I pass up the values and the parameters. That is nothing but a property and a values complete declaration. So let us just first do color, and then give it as red, and then font size as 34, and font weight as bold. So we have given this thing. We'll just save it. Control plus S to save it. Now what you can do is once you have created the CSS file, that is external CSS file, go back to your previous CSS file, and then you need to do is go to the header tag. I repeat, go to the header tag and just write link, link, and then press tab. Once you press tab, you get this. In the href, you need to give the
exact file name what was being given to an external CSS. So my file name is css1, so I'll just give css1.css. Remember with this, if both of the file, that is both the css.html or both the HTML file and the CSS file are in the same directory or in the same path, then you can directly give the file name. Else, you need to give the path followed by the file name. For an example, I have here both these files into the desktop, so I'm not giving the file path here. And if you have the CSS that is external CSS file into somewhere else, you need to give a file path name and then follow it up with the file name .css, that is an extension. So now Control plus S. Here, if we go here to the CSS1, the selector here is P. So let me just change this. Okay, let us have it as a P itself, and I'll just remove this internal CSS from here. So we don't have any internal CSS, and at the previous video, what we saw was we had the values passed to this paragraph, that is, this is hummingbird. So in this CSS, sorry, in this HTML, we'll be looking at how does this gets linked to this, and this values, this description, that is value and a property are passed to this. So let me Control plus save it, and I have also saved this file. So we are good to go. Now let us quickly go back to our browser and check out what's the result. So Control plus R, and you can see here, this is hummingbird in red color, and the font size what I have given in the CSS1 is 34. Let me make it to 67, 64, and then check out what's happening out with there. Now, if I go here and then Control plus R, okay, let me go back here and then save it. Control plus R. So here you can see here, this is turning to blue, but I think so there is a mistake with this font size. Okay. We had not given 34 pixels, that is px. You need to mention that. We thought that will not work out. So that was a good thing that didn't happen. So here we go, Control plus R, and you can see the font size change. So this is a simple thing about external CSS. Now I'll just show you one more way of doing that thing. So here we had a selector as a P. Let us go with an ID. So how can you do ID is just give hash, and let me write a ID WE, open the bracket, and pass the parameters, that is value and properties, color and green, and then font size, font weight as a bold. I'll just keep it to here. Okay, let me add a font size too. So here we have font size, and I'm keeping this as a 34 pixels. Again, remember you need to add the pixel there, that is px. Let's save it, Control plus S. Now you can see here, this is an ID. So this will help us wherever we need. We can just pass this ID, and that will have that same. So how can we do that is, I'll go to the CSS again here, and then here I'll just create header here, h1. Okay, let me create a h4, and then write enter and write this is hummingbird. And here for passing the ID, you need to go to the start tag, that is open tag, and then just write ID and press enter. So press tab, and that will give you this. So here you need to pass the ID whatever you had declared on the CSS here. So we have WE, that is a WE as in CSS. Sorry, ID for the CSS. So here I will go and write VE. So this will link that ID to that. Remember, you need not give hash here, but you have to give hash whenever you're declaring the ID here. So I hope we are clear with this, and let's quickly go back and check out what's the result with this. Control plus R, and you can see here, this is hummingbird. This is also in the font size of 34, but the color was given as green, and it is perfectly linking this with that. So this is how the external CSS gets linked to the HTML page, and then you're good to go. So why is it important to have the external CSS is nothing but, let's do one thing. Now we have defined this CSS1.css as our external CSS. Now let me go here and then create new, and then Control Shift S. I'll give this as
HTML2 and .html. I'm creating one more HTML page and saving this HTML is. I'll just write HTML here and then write title as a title itself. I'll not keep it. I'll keep it simple here. And in the body tag, I'll do is very simple. I'll just write one paragraph P, and then this is hummingbird. Now, Control plus save it. Let me go back to the desktop and have HTML2 here. Let's open this. And you can see when the moment we open this, this is pretty much simple. It doesn't have any CSS styling. So if I want to do this, I'll just do is I'll link the CSS to this. For that, link, and here we go. Write the CSS1.css, that is the CSS style name, sheet name, and then here pass the ID. So ID is nothing but we had a WE. Control plus save it. Let's quickly go back here and then Control plus R. Now we can see here the same CSS styling file was used with two different HTML pages. And this way you can use the same CSS file once designed to any number of pages you want. So let's quickly have a look into few more things so that we understand it better. So here we go to the CSS1, and in this thing we'll also add border, and then we'll mention the border width. So I'll just keep it to 2 pixels, and then give a colon, and then also give the groove, not colon, because it's the same thing, groove, and then mention the color as red. So it should be pretty good now. Control plus R, and you can see here it's perfectly well. So it looks much more pleasing and better, and all we did was just use the external CSS one time, and then we can call that anywhere to any number of multiple pages. For example, if you have a web page which has multiple web pages, so you design only one CSS, that is external CSS, and then you call that everywhere into all the web pages, and that really saves your time. And this is the importance of having external CSS. Now the questions comes as to other part of our thing what we need to learn in this video. So what is that? That is a box model. So what is box model now? Now you can see on the screen, it says this is a hummingbird, and this tree is almost attached to this border. And you also have a bit of inconvenience caused in this, and it doesn't look pretty much clear. So what is the solution for this? The solution for this is the CSS, that is model box. And model box, what is model box? Let's quickly go on that and check out there. So the term model box is nothing but it is always used whenever we talk about designing and layout. So what does it consist of? It consists of margins, borders, padding, and the actual content. And the image what you see on the screen is nothing but it clearly indicates what does this CSS box model have. So it has a content, that is the main thing, whatever you declare. In our example, we had this is hummingbird is a content, and the padding is nothing but the margin around the transparent margin around the area. So here we have where it is a transparent area, and border is nothing but what we had as a blue color one, and margin is where the clear area outside the border, and the margin is always transparent. So let's keep it here and then quickly go back into this video and check out how can we have these things into our styling. So to give this padding, let's go here to the css.html and write here padding, and then write 12 pixels, and also give a margin and make it as 7 pixels. So we are good to go, I think. Control plus save it, and then let's check out what's happening with the web page. So here we are in the web page. Control plus R. Now you can see here we have perfectly well margins, paddings, and a border. So how does we know that which is a margin, which is a border, and which is a padding? So we have a solution for this. So what it is? Let's quickly go out. Control Shift plus I, and that gets you to the inspect, or you can directly do is right click on the web browser, that is web page, and click on inspect. So once you click on inspect, go to the top and click on select an element in the page to inspect. Once you select that, click on the element here, and here we go. Into your right side, you have model box. So if I just go here into the center part, that is a content, so it shows this hummingbird is a content, and the other one is a padding, that is a transparent area. We have given as a 12 pixels, and the border as 2 pixels, and the margin above the border, that is outside the border, is nothing but a margin, and that is 7 pixels. So this is how box model helps you in understanding the design layout whenever you have. So with this, we end up our video for this, and we'll see you into the upcoming video. Thank you. Hello, and welcome back to this video. In this video, we'll be looking at the advancement of what yesterday we learned in the previous video, that is CSS3, or CSS level 2, or simply CSS. In this video, we'll be looking at CSS3, that is level 3. So let's quickly get into that, then check out what do we have for this content in this today's video. So in this video, we'll be looking at introduction to CSS3, background, text, images, and also animations. So first, we'll have introduction to CSS3. So what is CSS3? CSS3, abbreviated as Cascading Style Sheet Level 3. It is a declarative style sheet language for structured documents. CSS3 is divided into several separate columns, separate documents called modules. And the very much important thing, it preserves the capabilities of the backward compatibility and also add up the features which are addition into the CSS3. So this was a quick about introduction to CSS3. So now let's jump to CSS3 background. We have also seen CSS3 as earlier in the introduction. In this video, in this section, we'll be looking at what does the features and what are the flexibility this CSS3 background gives us. It gives us a great control for the background elements. So now let us switch back to our editor and then check out how can we have this in the background. So I'll just give a name as a background here, and then in the body I'll just quickly click on the body and then go here and then give a background to this. So how shall we give a background to this? It's pretty much simple. Very first thing, we'll be going here onto the head tag and write style, press tab, delete this completely. Here write background color as a light blue. Okay, we'll just try to give it as red and check out what's happening out there. Control plus save, and this file name is css.html, and I have this here in my Control plus R. I couldn't find anything because, just a second. Here we have given it as red. Let's not give red. I'll just do red like this. And now, why is it coming? Because here in the body, here let me just give it in a simple word, that is H1 category, and then just write as heading background. Now I need to pass this into a selector, so I'll just write body, and inside the body I'll have these properties. So here we go, and then so now this body is going to fetch the styling from this part. Let us Control plus save it, going back to the browser, Control plus R, and I have the background completely in a background red color. So this is what we had a normal, that is selecting a red color. If I just change this to light blue, Control plus save it, going back here, Control plus R, and I have this into a light blue color. So this is how you can add up any color you want as a background to your HTML web pages. Now let's check out how can we add up the images to the web pages as a background. It's pretty much simple. Going back here erasing this complete line and writing background, and then URL, and this will be the path where you define the path and the name of the file which you want to give here as a background. So I have one as a name here, A, and the a.jfif is my format. Control plus save it. Make sure that you provide a proper extension, that is the format here. If it is a JPEG, mention JPEG. If it is PNG, mention PNG and the exact file name. In case your file is stored in any other device or any other location, mention that path also into the URL. Now Control plus save it, going back to the screen, and Control plus R. So we're not getting it. That's because here we have background and let us is going to be an image. Control plus save it, going here, Control plus R. So let's check out the file name here. So file name is nothing but AS, not an A. So that is a mistake what we have done. So make sure that you do not give any of this wrong file names. Control plus save it, going back here, Control plus R, and I have my file here. Now the question is, this has been repeated. If I don't want this to be repeated, or if I want this to be completely covered, so what I can do is just quickly go here and then write here background repeat. If I don't want to repeat, background repeat and no repeat, and this will give me no repetition. So you can see there is no repeat between the backgrounds. And if you want to repeat into any direction, consider you want to repeat in X direction or one Y direction, so you can simply write X repeat, and that will repeat that thing into X direction. And if you want to repeat into Y direction, just write Y and then Control plus save it, going back Control plus R, and that will repeat into the Y direction. So here you can see here. Now we'll quickly jump into, you can also give the location where you want to have your background color. Example, if you want to have it in the right, left, or right bottom, anything such. For that, just write background and then write a position, and then mention the position where you want to keep it. So let's say it is left background. Okay, no, it was already in left. So right background. Control plus save it. Going back here, Control plus R, and you can see here my complete background is into my right side. So now let's quickly go ahead and then check out text. So what can we have with the text? So I'll just add up a paragraph here in this body. So P1 as a P as a paragraph, and write this is beautiful. I hope my spellings are right. And then I'll just quickly go up now and then pass this styling to this. So here I call up this P selector and then give a styling. So first thing I'll just try to do is give a color to this, color red. And now as we know already this, that we can give all these things. Let me give a text alignment to this text alignment, and I'll make it to center. Control plus save it, and let's see what happens. Control plus here, Control plus R. So you can see here, this is beautiful, and I get this into complete center on the screen. Here you can see here. Now let me just remove this background or make it to default, that is, or no repeat, so that we don't face a issue with it. And I just remove this completely background position, so that let it be in a default state, so that I have a better understanding. So I'm going to press R. So it is, you can see here, it is in the center of the page. This is beautiful. So this way you can add up the alignment of the text, and then you can do it. Now we'll see what is text decoration. In the text decoration, you can do is, you can give it, let us check out if what we can have with text decoration. So I have text decoration here, and then I'll just type none here. Let me see what happens. Control plus save and Control plus R, and I find there is no decoration with this. So let me give some decoration with this. Let's give decoration to this. I'll just change this to overline. Control plus save it, and then let me see what happens. Control plus R. You can see there is a line over the text. Now, if I change this to, sorry, not here, Control plus Z, underline, Control plus save, and then Control plus R. So I have an underline to the text now. So this way you can add up the decoration to this text. Now moving ahead, we'll look at what we can do with this text transformation. We have one more property as a text transformation, text transform. And then here what you can do is you can either add up the upper text, like convert the all the text to upper text or to the lower text. So let us do it to uppercase here, Control plus save it. Going back here, Control plus R, and you can see the complete text is into uppercase. And if you want to make it lowercase, you can also make it to lowercase. Just you need to do is replace it with lowercase, and you're done. Control plus save, Control plus R, and here it is in a lowercase. This is beautiful hummingbird. And what I'll do is now I'll use as my texts are already into the camel case, I'll just use the first letter as the small cases so that we can use capitalize and then check out what's happening with that. So I am done with this. I'll just change this to capitalize. Control plus save it. Control plus R. You can see here all the first element, that is first letter of the words, have become capital, and that's nothing but a camel case, where you have a combination of both capital and the small letters, and it looks beautiful. Now what we'll be doing is, let me remove this underline because it's irritating. Control plus save it, Control plus R, and I have no underline with that thing. You can also do is letter spacing and word spacing. So do not get confused between the letter spacing and the word spacing. Letter spacing is nothing but having the space between the letters, whereas the word spacing is nothing but having the space between the words. So let us give first word spacing and then check out. If I just give the word spacing as 35 pixels and going back here, Control plus R, you can see there is a space, much space between these letters. And going back here, I'll do the letter spacing, and then give it as 5 pixels. Control plus save it, Control plus R. Now you can see there is a 5 pixel spacing between these letters and 35 pixels spacing between these words. Control plus save it. So it's perfect now. So this is how you can add up the line spacing and word spacing. Let's now go back and check out with the fonts, or we'll go and check out with the shadows. So what you can do with the shadows is you can add up the shadow to make it look more appealing when you have your text here. So for that, we'll be going and checking out shadows. So let's quickly go back to our text editor and then check out shadow. So to add up a shadow, all you have to do is wherever you are declaring that styling, just write text and write shadows. And here you need to mention the pixels, 2 pixels, and the color which you want to have a shadow for. So I'll just give it FFF and then 00 and 11. Control plus save it. I'm not sure what is the color this hex value will give me, but let us check out. Control plus R. Okay, so I have this, it is red color itself, so this is beautiful, and it has a, I'll just change this to blue so that we have a good combination between the shadow and the original text. So this is beautiful hummingbird. So yes, it looks cool. Let me just change this to 1 pixel, and I should have a better effect with this. Control plus save, Control plus R, and also I'll just change the text weight, sorry, font weight to bold. This will make the fonts bold. So this is beautiful hummingbird. You can also change the size of the font. For that, you need to write font followed by size and mention the size name 35 pixels. And I think so for this I need to change this word spacing because
Control plus R. So here we have in a perfect order, and this should be right. So no, it should be left, so that we have it here. So this is beautiful hummingbird, and I have this completely here on my screen. So this was about using the text in the CSS3 in view. Now we'll be seeing how can we have multiple, like we have blue and red. We'll have one more now. So what for that, what we'll be doing is just go here and then give a comma, and then again mention the pixel size 1 pixel, 1 pixel, and then mention uh, the hex code. So I'll just mention ff. I'll make it 00. Control plus save it. Let us check out what's happening here. Control plus R, and we couldn't make out much difference. So for that, let us change this thing and write 0 0 to 3 pixel, and then hash hex code ff 0000 comma 0 0 3 pixels hash ff 0011. Control plus save it. Going back here, Control plus R. Now you can see here you have a beautiful shadow here. It's perfect and it looks very much awesome. So this was about how we can add up the text and how we can change the backgrounds in the CSS3. So that's all for this video, and in the next video we'll be looking at how can we have animations in the text in the HTML page. Until then, take care. Hello and welcome back to this video again. In this video we'll be looking at CSS3 animations, a continuation of the previous video. So what are animations now? Animations are nothing but a gradual change from one style to another style. You can have any types of styling. It's all up to you. To create a CSS3 animations, we need to learn alt keyframe rules. So we'll be looking at all these things right in the practicals. So let's quickly go back and then start doing it. I'll just delete this completely, HTML, and write animations as the title for the page. And in this, I'll just go to the body and then just write a note, paragraph, body. In this body, I'll just write note, and here inside the paragraph, I'll write this is animation hummingbird. Save it. Now in the header file, call the style attribute, then press enter here, and now the time to mention the styling here. So what we'll be doing is, first, as we have done earlier, just give it a div here and keep it empty, don't fill anything. Going back to the header, inside the style, just write div, call it the same selector, open the bracket, press enter, give the width. Well, what we'll be doing here is just have one box or a rectangle or a box that is square, and change from one color to another color. So I'll just give this as 150 pixels at the width of the box, and then height as 100 pixels. So I hope so it should be rectangular in size, in shape. And background color at the start I'll be going is blue. Now here we write WebKit animation name, and this we use because it is used for the rendering of the animation in both the Apple Safari and the Chrome. We also have the standard, that is the acted art keyframes. So we'll also add that so that we don't have any issues with the compatibility with the animations. So here give hyphen, write WebKit, and give hyphen animations, and now name of the animation. Can give any name you want. I'll be just giving it as
animation 1. The second line will provide the duration in which the animation should happen. So for that, again the same thing, WebKit animation and this is now duration, and the duration I'll be giving is 4 seconds, or let me give 2 seconds so that it's quick and we can have a better thing. And the other way of declaring the same thing is write directly an animation here, as you have there in the property itself, in the styling property, animation name, and I'll just give the same animation name, animation 1, and then animation duration we already have here. So I'm just trying that WebKit also so that you don't have any issues if you're doing with the Safari and so on. You can skip that if you have directly the Chrome, and you can just directly write animation name and animation duration. So animation duration is kept for 2 seconds. Now all of this will call up the keyframe, that is to switch from one color to other color. You can directly also do that using this at keyframes also, but we'll be trying with both. Here at WebKit keyframes, and then call up the animation name. So animation name is nothing but animation 1. We have open the bracket and then give the from color from background color. I've given there as a blue, so blue to the color background color as red. So we are done. So we have declared it as using the WebKit, and you can also do it the same directly as at keyframes. So here we go, at keyframes, call it the animation name, and that is animation 1. Open the bracket, write the same thing from background color blue. We have to background color red. So we are good to go. So let's go and check out what's happening out there. So Control plus save it, going back to the browser, Control plus R, and you can see here this is animation changing from one color to another color. So it is changing from Control plus R, it is changing from blue to red, blue to red. So we have a perfect animation where there's a transition of the color from blue to red. Now it's only happening once. So what if I want to have it multiple times? So for that, what you need to do is do the iteration of the animation. So how will you do that iteration? It's pretty much simple. All you need to do is go back to the browser, and then here just write animation iteration count, give the number of count it should do, consider 5, and this will do it for 5 times. Save it here, Control plus R. Now let's see here how many times it does. 1, and this is the second time, this is the third time, this is the fourth time, and finally the fifth time, and then it stops. It doesn't do it. So here we give as a mention the name, that is mention the number how many times you want animation to happen. What if I want for infinite? Just write infinite, and that will keep on happening forever. So this way you can always give the animation to any number of count you want, and this will just keep on doing the animation forever. Now we'll be looking at how can we have a transition where you hover to the same box and then it just elongates. So for that, what we'll be doing is I'll just keep the same thing here, and instead of this animation part, I'll just remove this animation part and then write WebKit. Okay, I'll just also remove this, WebKit hyphen transition. Transition and write with to sorry to 2 seconds. And now, so this is one way of calling it. The other silent way is 2 seconds, as we had seen in the earlier. And then close the bracket. Sorry, not open the bracket, close it. I'll also do one more div where what I'll be doing is whenever it is hovered on the same, like whenever you just drag your mouse there, keep the mouse over it, it'll just do this animation. So now the width, I'll just keep it to, as we have 150 here, I'll just keep it to 450 here, 450 pixels. And now let us check out what's happening with this. So Control plus S, saving it, Control plus R here. So now you have this rectangular box as mentioned here, 150 pixels in the width and height as 100 pixels. And here it is. So now I've given a function hover, and if I just hover through it, it will increase the width to 450 pixels. If I just go and hover it, you can see here it increases the, okay, if I just hover it, it increases the width to 450 pixels. What if I want to also increase in height? Just write height, and then I'll just increase even this to 450 pixels, and then it should increase in both the directions now. Control plus save it, going back here. Okay, it's not happening out here. Yes, so do not forget to save it. Control plus save it, and then going back here. Now you can see here it's increasing in the width and height by 450 pixels as mentioned here on the program. So this is how we can add up the animations to make your things look more cool and pretty much appealing to the user. Before we complete this video, let us also check out how can we have the delay increase, like what is the delay we need between the transition. So for that, it's pretty much simple. You can just go here and then just use the transition delay and then give the delay between the transition. I'll just give it to 2 seconds and let us check out what's happening out here. Control plus save it, going back here, Control plus R, and then if I just hover it, after 2 seconds, there's a transition happening. So here we are, and if I just go here, and after 2 seconds of time, it increases. So here you can see here, I just use the transition delay directly. You can also directly give it as a, you can also give it as a hyphen WebKit hyphen transition, or so if we remove this, and even if you do like this, Control plus save, even then it works out well. So here you can see it works even then. So that's all for today's video. In this video, I hope you learned a lot about the transition and animations, and this will get you started. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching all the videos. Until we meet again, take care.